Good morning, IMSA. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know this is a lot of assemblies, kind of little unconditional or what's the word? Unconventional for us here. But I want to welcome everybody to our annual mental health assembly. Let's clap it up. All right, so we have a lot of great speakers today that we're going to talk about the importance of mental health. But before we get started, please, I know it's a lot of assemblies. Let's be mindful. No phones. Let's not talk. I don't want to call people out because you know I will. So let's be respectful and give our speakers your attention, okay? All right, first speaker that's going to come up here and talk about mental health is Stephanie Broy, Area Coordinator. Let's clap it up for Stephanie.
Thank you, Keisha. Oh, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Broy. I'm one of the area coordinators for Res Life. I'm also the co-coordinator of Spark, along with my partner, Rafael Gonzalez, who's currently in California right now. But I would like to introduce my lovely Spark team, who's sitting over here and over there. We're going to introduce our board, and then they're also going to give a brief presentation of all things Spark. And we want to thank Studco and the counseling team for letting us to collaborate for MHI Week. So give it a round of applause to Spark.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the introduction. To start off, I want to give the board an opportunity to introduce themselves. You guys want to come up?
Hello, my name is Krish. I'm part of 1507, and I'm a co-head for the Peer Support Network.
Hello. Hello, my name is Ian. I'm a junior in 1504, and I'm the other co-head of the Peer Support Network.
Hello, I'm Andre Mendez. I'm in 1505, and I'm part of the Events and Programming Committee.
Hi, I'm Torin. I am a resource manager for Spark, and I am in 1507.
Hi, I'm Fapel Jomalade. I'm from 1506, and I'm a resource manager of Spark.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm in 1507, and I'm on the committee board, or alumni board.
Hi, I'm Shreyas. I'm in 1507, and I'm on the events and programming.
I'm Tia Rice, and I do events and programming. I'm in 1501.
I'm Natalia. I'm from 1501, and I'm on board for the Peer Support Network.
I'm Raghav Sinha. I'm from 1505, and I'm part of the Peer Support Network.
I'm Mira. I'm in 1506, and I'm also in the Peer Support Network.
I'm Alex from 07, and I run the social media.
Hi, my name is Olivia, and I'm also a part of the social media committee.
And my name is Emily, and I am part of the Events and Programming Board of Spark. So, to start off, I'm going to talk a little bit about why we do what we do and the importance of mental health on campus. So, Spark is the one and only club at IMSA that is dedicated towards providing education and resources regarding mental health and wellness here at IMSA. We believe that mental health takes time to build and understand, and this is especially important when considering the challenging environment students have to go through during their 3 years here at IMSA. Many students will experience life-changing events throughout their IMSA life, such as the experience of moving away from home, navigating relationships, and even getting your first B- on a math test. But with the right support, all these events can be used to build us up if we utilize them correctly. In order to do this, Spark offers many events to students and faculty centered on mental health and wellness awareness, which Olivia will go more into.
Okay, so like Emily said, Spark is all about spreading mental health awareness with the use of programming events open to both students and staff. Sometimes our events are more educational, like the programming we'll be presenting in the halls this Tuesday, or the year-long program we have called Spark Tags. Spark Tags are tags with cards filled with resources that students volunteer to wear and hand out to other students. We also have more relaxing events where students are given the chance to take a step back from all the craziness at IMSA, like our Thoughtful Thursdays. We are also excited to officially start our peer support network. PSN is a program similar to peer tutors, except instead of helping peers with academics, students signed up and went through training to help with the more emotional aspect of being here. You can come to a PSN student's office hours to talk about your day or just vent about something that's been on your mind lately. The events we are running during MHI week include Positive Notes on Tuesday during midday, the residential program in the evening, origami making on Thursday during both midday and S&E period, Thoughtful Thursday in the evening at 6 to 7:30, and to finish it off, we'll have a bonfire at 05 Slabs on Friday at 7:30 to 9:30. And then, thank you for your support, for supporting our programs and events.
Thank you, Spark. So the next speaker we have coming up is our Junior at-Large Representative, Yicole.
Good morning, IMSA. For those of you who don't know me, it's like Keisha announced, my name is Yicole, and I'm serving as SEDCO's Junior at-Large this year. While coming up for an idea for this speech, I binge-watched the last season of Avatar: The Last Airbender in one day. Yup, that was my way of catching a break after a quarter filled with multiple assessments in one day, countless meetings, and not enough time to study and complete homework. Although, to be fair, junior year is reputable for slapping you in the face, and I think it's sufficient to say that at the least that I was hit by a truck. However, when I was aggressively rewatching one of my favorite shows, something hit me that wasn't a truck, I'm fine. Just so you're caught up, Avatar: The Last Airbender is an animated Nickelodeon show from 2005 and houses some of the best character developments of all time. Even if you aren't fond of animation or aren't fazed by my speech, I'd say give it a shot. Essentially, after 100 years of being frozen in an iceberg, a 12-year-old boy, Aang, holds the responsibility of saving the entire world, and he has to master all of the elements in order to restore the universe's balance. He meets several friends along the way, and they all have their own set of challenges. There's a lot, so buckle up. His potential love interest grieves over the loss of her mom, her brother feels useless without an ability to waterbend, Aang's blind earthbending teacher has a low self-esteem that is disguised by being overly confident, and his former arch-nemesis turned firebending teacher deals with the consequences of his past actions and his messed up family. It's a lot to explain within 5 minutes, but these characters go through a lot. Sure, I've never had to grieve over losing my entire bloodline, but feeling inferior and having anxiety are things that I felt were relatable to me. Sokka, the brother I mentioned earlier, is someone who came from the Southern Water Tribe, and everyone except his sister did not have the ability to waterbend. Here's another explanation. Long story short, his tribe was targeted by the Fire Nation, which was expanding its empire and caused the war Aang woke up to. When he and his sister meet Aang and follow him on his avatar journey, Sokka was the only person that didn't have any elemental powers for a majority of the time, and he often felt like he was weaker because of that. He also served as comedic relief throughout the show, and his intelligence was often undermined. However, Sokka managed to overcome this, and he learned swordsmanship to defend himself. He also had a really good support system, and although he felt insecure because of his inability to control any of the elements, Sokka displayed true leadership during the finale, but I won't spoil anything else. The experience Sokka has reminded me of myself and other people I know at IMSA. Many of us have never lived alone without family and had to adjust to an entirely different academic environment filled with challenging classes and impressive classmates. The lovely term we hear every year about IMSA struggles, imposter syndrome, fits a good chunk of my IMSA experience so far. For those of you who feel like you're not doing enough by not having one or more board positions on a club, or you're not smart enough to be placed into a class like MVC your sophomore year, or even if you felt like math was becoming harder for the first time, I would be lying if I said I've never felt that way about myself. I thought I needed to be in every single board position, and I had to take the highest math classes in order to even be considered for college. And I thought I was failing whenever I got rejected from another interview, or heard others talk about how the rational test was so easy, when I felt like it was one of the hardest units in the class. But the more I thought about it, I realized that being a board member for several tons of clubs just simply wouldn't work out for me. Time is valuable, and although there are so many amazing opportunities here at IMSA. I knew what my personal priorities were coming here. I knew I came here for research opportunities and to be able to explore more pathways into STEM, so I decided to dedicate myself towards those commitments and goals, rather than applying for every club I can name off of the top of my head and burn myself out. However, I can't speak for every student here, as no one's journey is the same. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses, and once we recognize what they are and how they can help us grow, being at IMSA is a lot less stressful. Find out what you want to accomplish by coming to IMSA, and it'll be easier to really sort out and prioritize what you should do, instead of wasting your time stressing yourself out on things that you have zero interest in. I like this year's MHI Week theme, Rise Up. I hope everyone here finds their own way to rise up, despite all of the obstacles that come with attending here, whether it is relieving stress by participating in culture shows, or dedicating time to study on their hardest subjects, or stopping to talk to the people they care about, even if it's just for a minute. Rising up does not mean you have to sacrifice 7 friends for 7 A's. Rather, it's just defeating your own personal challenges, no matter how big or small. These accomplishments can make a world of a difference for yourself. And remember that you do belong at IMSA. Take care of yourselves, and thank you for listening. Now, STUDCO and some of IMSA's culture clubs would like to dedicate some time to talk about the connections between culture shows and mental health. I would like for each of the culture clubs to introduce themselves, and I'll be asking some questions, and yeah.
Hello, IMSA. My name is Jasmine. I'm a senior, and I am the project director of Spectrum.
Hi, guys. My name is Jose. I am the Pride Rock director for Spectrum.
Hey, y'all. I'm Tyler Rush, and I'm representing the Black Student Union.
Hi everyone, I'm Marcus, I'm a senior, and I'm here repping Alma Latina.
Hello, my name is Evan Lee, and I'm representing Asia.
So our first question is, how are mental health issues perceived in your community or culture, and how can being part of this community affect your mental health?
I'm first. Oftentimes, mental health has been perceived as a sign of weakness in Black communities. When hearing of having mental health issues, older generations will most likely respond by saying you're faking it, or some sort of indication that you're just trying to grab unwanted attention, or you're trying so hard on something that doesn't even exist. This is mainly seen in the Black women and girls population. When it comes to Black men and boys, saying that you have mental health issues, the older men will perceive you as a scaredy cat or weak, and will continue to talk about how you can't be the man of the house if you act like this. Generally, growing up with statements like this constantly said to us, we have to learn how to hide the issues away from our family members, because if not, we would have received a long lecture about how mental health issues are not real and that we're faking it. So being raised by influences like these in our community just make our mental health worse, because we have nobody to talk to or express ourselves to when needed.
Oh, hold on. Let me pull up the, sorry. Okay, hi guys. So once again, I'm here on behalf of Alma Latina, and I just want to talk about a few of the issues that have affected me personally and a lot of the people in my community. So in general, there's a big ignorance to mental health in the Latinx community. Like, I know a lot in my life, like there's been a lot of issues. I talk to my family and they're all like basically minimizing it. You know, you're seen as crazy if you have mental health issues. Like, it's just not normal, you know, and it's really destructive. But some more specific things are like the idea of machismo, like the idea that you can't show your emotions if you're a man. You need to be the provider. You need to like be strong. And they really don't recognize that showing your emotions can be strength. And I know that there's typical gender roles for females as well. I mean, but yeah, like that really traps us in a box, and it makes us feel like, you know. Anyways, okay, so there's also LGBTQ stigma within the Latinx community that I've struggled with. You know, they don't really, it's not seen as normal, and it's really invalidating. And then some other more personal things, like I know that being a South American in the United States is like really isolating. Like if you are a minority within the Latinx community, like it can feel really like isolating, like without having people to relate to, like people who don't understand your like special types of culture. And then like, you know, not being able to speak Spanish is another big issue. Like I know for my brother, he feels really isolated because my mom never taught him Spanish, and it's just really, it's hard to watch, you know, like. And then like the last thing I want to touch on is like not looking like a typical picture of a Latino. So like I know I'm white and I recognize I have privilege from that, but I know within the Latinx community, like especially Afro-Latinos as well, like if you don't look like what people think a Latino looks like you can feel like detached. And like people have said to me before, like, oh, like you're not a Latino because you don't look like one. And like, like it's just really like issues like that, like that are specific to the Latinx community that, yeah, and anyways, I just wanted to reiterate that Alma Latina, like we're here for you. We want to be a safe space for you. If you ever feel alone in the Latinx community, like we want to be here for you. If you ever have anything that you want to bring to our attention that we can do to make you feel included in this school, because I know that being part of Alma Latina has helped me a lot. And so I just want to extend that to you guys. Like, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So in Asian communities, mental health issues are unfortunately often stigmatized. They can be seen as a source of shame, both for the individual experiencing them and for their family. The model minority stereotype, which portrays Asians as overachieving, successful, and emotionally stable, exacerbates this issue, as people may fear that admitting to mental health problems would lead to them being perceived as failures. As such, our issues are can often be denied or ignored, with many students feeling pressured to handle their problems privately. This can lead to a lack of support for those who truly need help. A lot of this denial can be traced back to older generations of immigrants, with them having faced hardships and adversity themselves, often as immigrants who may not have been exposed to the concept of mental health issues as it is understood today. Many have developed a kind of push-through mentality.
All right, so our second question is, what are some things that could be done to improve mental health in your own community?
Okay, so we will present a poem about queer children of color and their experiences in households, schools, and etc., specifically relating to their mental health and vulnerability in the LGBTQIA+, Black, and Hispanic communities.
They say it is a phase, something that'll pass.
But I know this phase is something that will last.
At my Mexican household, they tell me, aguántatelo, to hold it in.
And at my house, they don't even let me begin.
¿Dónde está la novia?
Where's your boyfriend?
Only my friends at school know.
But a lot of them are as white as snow.
They use our culture as if it is a show.
But our flow is not their show.
We file reports because we don't feel safe.
But to my disgrace, they just turn just to laugh in our face.
These thoughts I have, they make me sad.
But they don't think it's that bad?
Racism.
Discrimination.
They think we lied.
But they are all tied.
Let me be clear.
We are more than just queer.
Appropriation.
I'm not your slave, Pookie Bear Queen, period.
It makes us furious.
That you all are curious, and yes, it is that serious.
Living in an immigrant household, it may be hard for me to feel accepted at parties, carne asadas, and quinceañeras.
Similar for Black culture, it's hard for kids to feel accepted at cookouts, holiday family dinners. Especially for queer POC students, it's hard for them to find community because both parts of these communities are ridiculing us in our households and in our schools.
These students are not safe in the LGBTQIA+ community because it is known for the white queer communities to appropriate our culture, so it is important for us to highlight this as this is a huge factor for our mental health.
It is important for these communities to come together and support our youth and their mental health.
Both communities hurt our kids by demonizing our gender and sexuality and by racially profiling us.
People think we're outdoor workers.
Landscapers.
Reduced to only the color of my skin and the culture that I'm in.
We are tired of this two-faced manipulation.
So it's time that we have this conversation.
It's time for this communication.
We hope you all left with a piece of this, and to our POC queer students,
nunca nos van a hacer menos.
We are never going to be less than. Thank you.
To improve mental health in the Black community, we should have more events catered to our community that gives people a rest from the academic rigor of IMSA. Along with events, we should have more resources for our community that are trustworthy for Black students to use.
Oh, okay. So once again, I just want to reiterate that, like, here, like with Alma Latina, we want to be here for you guys. Like, if you feel unsupported in any way, like especially with that assembly last week, like I know a lot of us been feeling like really neglected by the IMSA like community, and so I just want to like reiterate that, like if you feel any of the issues, like you've been affected by any of the issues that I brought up, like machismo or colorism or anything, like we're here for you. We want to hear what you want to see from us, and we are going to keep making events that help you feel supported. We want to keep building a community like where we can rely on each other, because that's what's really important, I think. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So in order to address the challenges and improve mental health in Asian communities, Asian households have to be made aware about mental health issues and their legitimacy. Additionally, support systems for students should strive to be culturally sensitive, as understanding the nuances of the unique challenges that Asian students face can help them to provide better care.
Thank you to our culture clubs, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Let's give another round of applause for all our students who just came up here, because that's not easy. All right, so our next speaker is our alumni speaker. I'm going to read their bio so you get to know a little bit about her. Her name is Sonia. Let me get this mic. There we go. Give me this. All right. Sonia Wisniewski, class of 1999, my bad, provides clinical treatment and therapy to clients as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner in Chicago, specializing in post-traumatic stress disorder. Upon graduating from IMSA, Sonia attended St. John's College in Maryland, where there were no majors or electives. The curriculum was based on reading, writing, and discussing the great books, which was a huge change from IMSA. She went on to attend Johns Hopkins University and the University of Illinois at Chicago for her post-baccalaureate studies. Sonia currently serves as the president of the IMSA Alumni Association and volunteers for the I Am Able Foundation and IMSA's Med Society. In her free time, Sonia is an artist, writer, and board game, what's that word? That too. She also enjoys running, hiking, and camping with her Australian cattle dog, Nova. Let's give a round of applause for our alumni speaker, Sonia.
I'm gonna put this back here, I think. I'll start off by saying that I 100% endorse the final message that my friend Dr. Angel Alvarez gave on Friday when he accepted his Titan Award. I don't want to be pulled off stage, though, so I'm going to censor myself. I'll just say that you are all brilliant and amazing. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Because you are all so brilliant and amazing, I'm not going to stand here and lecture you with generic psychoeducation for mental wellness, like the benefits of sleep hygiene, mindfulness, gratitude, blah, blah, blah. You've all heard that before. And if you haven't, you can look it up online or learn about it from Spark. What I will do is give you my advice as an IMSA alum based on my own meandering experience. You are all brilliant and amazing, so be kind to yourself. IMSA is a truly wondrous place. There are so many opportunities, both academically and extracurricularly. There are so many awesome people to meet and become friends with. And then there's this looming pressure of getting the best grades, deciding what you're going to be when you grow up, what college you want to go to, getting into that college. That's a lot. Raise your hand if you've heard the saying, perfection is the enemy of the good. Ah, wow, that's a lot more than I thought. That's great. I know that saying may sound weird, but I had it actually printed and taped up to my college dorm room wall because I had to keep reminding myself of it. If you've never heard it before, perfection is the enemy of the good means that perfection is unobtainable. And if we are only focused on being perfect, it keeps us from doing good or even just good enough. We are going to miss out on what is possible, a good essay or a good project without procrastinating. Perfectionism is a form of procrastination, which is just avoidance, and it's related to shame. And I'm not going to go into that topic today, but I will say that I procrastinated so much when I was at IMSA. In fact, I was very proud back then that I came up with the motto, you cannot eat or you cannot sleep, but you can't do both. It's not because I literally didn't have enough time to eat 3 meals and get at least 6 hours of sleep and do all my schoolwork and all my extracurricular commitments. Nope. It's because when I came up with all these marvelous ways to procrastinate. I mean, obviously, this essay for Russian literature has to be written, but I mean, don't I need to do laundry? Or and what about writing that charter for that club I'm going to propose? You know what, I really need to clean the toilet. That's really important. And before I knew it, it was 11 p.m., my essay was due by 8 a.m., and I'd only written 1 sentence. I know that procrastination was an epidemic in my graduating class. We wore it like a badge of honor. You didn't start your program until 2 a.m.? Well, I didn't start mine until 4 a.m. Plus, I had swim practice. You see, this trend of, if you see this trend with your classmates, be that person who starts to turn the tide. And don't see procrastination as a sign of accomplishment, but see it as a symptom that something's wrong. Be kind to yourself. Get enough sleep. Eat that food that's, how do the student ambassadors talk about it? Well, it may not be mom's cooking, but, and know that perfectionism is just a form of avoidance that won't get you any closer to completing any sort of task or assignment. So aim for good enough. Or let's be realistic. I'm looking at all of you. Aim for good. Be kind to yourself and ask yourself regularly, am I paying attention to how I feel? Feelings come and go, but if something is wrong and you are avoiding dealing with it by taking on one more task because it'll look great for colleges, it's just going to compound the problem. I wish someone had told me that when I was at IMSA. My senior year, I maxed out my class load with the highest level courses I could take. I was in leadership roles for 6 different extracurriculars, in addition to visiting colleges, applying to them, and everything else. 25 years ago to this month, I had a breakdown one night so severe, the RCs made an exception to escort a friend of mine from 06 to 01 after 10 p.m. because I couldn't stop crying and hyperventilating. And she was the only person I would talk to, and just talking to her over the phone wasn't enough. I didn't know it then, but I'd been doing so many things at IMSA in order to frantically avoid dealing with trauma. With trauma, avoidance just makes the symptoms worse over time. With other mental health issues, activities can be a good thing, but within limits. See, I wasn't paying attention to how I felt. I was avoiding thinking about how I felt. I wasn't being kind to myself. Each and every single one of you is brilliant, and you know yourself better than anyone else. So if you realize you could benefit from support from someone else, professional or non-professional, I'd urge you to reach out sooner rather than later, because I don't know if they'll do something like that nowadays. So ask yourself regularly, am I taking time to focus on myself? If you're not, then give yourself permission to say no. Then take time to take care of yourself. I promise you, one more accomplishment on your application or one higher grade is not worth the cost if you feel like you may be at your limits or you notice you aren't taking care of yourself, because you will pay the price after you get to your dream college, grad school, job, whatever. And it's worth noting that when you do, there may be haters. Ignore them. I had a classmate who was 11 years old her sophomore year, and second semester she took multivariable calculus. I mean, it's true. I didn't ask her permission to say her name, but it's true. Angie can vouch probably. When we all gathered for our 5-year reunion, I overheard some guy from my class giving her a hard time because she'd taken a year break during college and only just graduated from Yale at 19. Everyone is running their own race. Do not waste your time on jealousy. In the end, that race is only with yourself. Also, just general life advice, no is a complete sentence. I guess what I wish I'd known when I was at IMSA more than anything else is that it was going to be okay. And if I'd been more kind to myself, I would have saved myself so much mental anguish along the way. There are people who don't graduate from IMSA and go on to be trailblazers. There are alumni who get kicked out and now receive accolades for how much they contribute to the scientific community and to IMSA. There are alumni who get into their dream undergrad, their dream grad school, and then they drop out because then when they stop to take a breath, they realize they didn't actually want to do what they've been working so hard to do. One example, someone from my class, she was a medical school student, and she dropped out to become a jewelry designer and business owner. So, in summary, let go of perfectionism. Ask yourself regularly, am I paying attention to how I feel? Ask yourself regularly, am I taking time to focus on myself? And if you're not, give yourself permission to say no to things. It's going to be okay. Just breathe, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and stick with those who are kind to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. So our next speaker is going to have an event tonight in the auditorium at 7 o'clock. I'm going to give you a little bio on him as well. He is a hypnotist. His name is Evan Gambardella. He is an international recognized stage and consulting hypnotist, certified and inducted by the National Guild of... Oh, we got to be quiet. Thank you. Let's try this again. Hypnotist Evan Gambardella is an international recognized stage and consultant hypnotist, certified and inducted by the National Guild of Hypnotists. He has taken his talent all over the world, performing in 19 countries across 6 continents. Evan created Train Your Brain as a way to bring mental health fitness programming to students who suffer from anxiety, stress, depression, loss, and general PTSD. With his unconventional dual certification in stage and consulting hypnotist, Evan approaches this workshop from a uniquely hypotherapeutic perspective by merging his experience as an international entertainer with his private clinical sessions in hypnotherapy. Train Your Brain is a fun, interactive, and healing experience for all. Let's all give a round of applause for Evan.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me back. It's wonderful to be here. Hello, everybody. I'm Evan. Like what was just described, there will be an event tonight where I'll be doing a formal hypnosis show, so I hope to see you all there. But before we get started here, I want to talk about not only my experience becoming a hypnotist and my mental health journey that kind of brought me there, but I also want to explain the fundamentals of how the mind works, because I didn't know how my mind worked before I got certified as a hypnotist. I don't think many people here do, and it's not really rocket science. I think you learn a lot more complicated things here at IMSA than what I'm about to describe to you. So before we get started here, everybody, please do exactly what I say. We're going to do a little game here. Do exactly what I say, only what I say. Please take your hand, either right or left, put it out in front of you. Don't hit the person in front of you. Please be nice. Whoa! And I want you to take that hand and make a circle shape with it. Okay, great. Now please put it up to your forehead. Turn to somebody near you and say, "I'm a unicorn." I just wanted to see y'all do that. There was no point to that. All right, seriously now, here's the real game. Take that circular shaped hand. Please do exactly what I say. I want you to please take that circular shaped hand and move it in a clockwise direction. Clockwise direction. Counterclockwise direction. Clockwise direction again. Counterclockwise direction again. Now please bring that hand to touch your chin, just like this. Very good. You ready? We're going to do it again a little bit faster this time. Please do exactly what I say. Clockwise direction with that circular shaped hand. Counterclockwise direction with that circular shaped hand. Clockwise again, bigger, faster circles this time. Counterclockwise, smaller, faster circles this time. Counterclockwise, bigger, faster circles this time. Now once again, please bring up your hand to touch your cheek. Who's on their chin? Oops. Yeah, I know. It happens. So, very simple explanation for how I was able to trick you. Okay? Habit. Habit is how I was able to trick you. Did we touch our cheek before? No, we touched our chin before, right? So your subconscious mind made an assumption. You assumed I meant chin when I said cheek because that's what we did before. So that's indeed what most of you in this room did. You touched your chin. Habit reigns supreme in our lives. Habits make up most of the decisions we make every single day, whether or not we want them to, right? And a lot of times, it's a good thing. We don't have to think about walking every single time we take a step, like we used to have to do when we were toddlers learning how to walk. It's nice to be able to multitask when we're walking somewhere, right? So in that way, habit's good. Sometimes habit can be really destructive. Who here checks their phones compulsively? I put my hand up immediately because I'm saying it for myself as much as anybody else. Checking their phones compulsively just to see if there's a message on there. Even if you don't have a notification, you still check your phone, right? There's a reason for that. We're conditioned to do that because of the magic of maybe. Maybe I'll get a message on my phone. Maybe I'll get a notification. Maybe that person that I really like is going to send me a message. And we get a 400% spike in dopamine every time we get a notification on our phone. That's something we've all been conditioned to do. Habits are the roadblocks, or sorry, the roadmap to creating addiction in a lot of our lives. So habits make a lot of decisions for us without us meaning to. What else controls what we do besides habit? A big one is emotion. Who here ever made a decision out of a feeling like despair, anger, fear, hate, love, sadness? Yeah, most of us make decisions from our emotions. Ask anybody in advertising and they'll tell you that anytime they're advertising a product, it's not about necessarily what the product is, it's about how you feel about the product. It's about getting them to feel something in response to the advertisement. Same thing with political campaigns, right? What's another thing that controls what we do? Memory. Memory is a big one. Memory is a teacher. Memory teaches us what to aspire to do again and again, like, oh, I want that 400% spike in dopamine on my phone. Or sometimes it could encourage us to stay away from something. Like, oh, I'm actually not going to tell that person that I was really hurt by what they said because last time they reacted in a really negative way. Or I'm not going to speak out because the last time I spoke out, I got punished for it. Or I'm not going to tell that person I like them because I got heartbroken before. Memory is a teacher. It teaches us what to get over and over again and also what to avoid. And finally, this is the biggest thing that controls what we do. Most people don't think of this. I certainly didn't before I got trained as a hypnotist. Imagination. And no, I'm not talking about imagination from my SpongeBob fans. We got SpongeBob fans? I hope so. Okay, yeah. I'm talking about anxiety. That's what I'm talking about. How many people here, either they themselves or they know somebody who is dealing with anxiety? Yeah, it's all the rage these days. Newsflash, pretty much everyone deals with anxiety and anxious feelings at one point or another in their lives. Anxiety, in the simplest way that I can describe it to you, is simply imagination mingled with memory. Think about that for a second. Imagination mingled with memory equals anxiety. Typically, it's bad memories, right? Now, why does that impact us physically? I'm going to get to that in a second, but those four things, imagination, habit, memory, and emotions, control most of the decisions we make every single day. And where are all four of those things living within our minds? The subconscious mind. The subconscious mind makes most of the decisions we make every single day, whether or not we want it to. Can we control our subconscious mind? Maybe. I don't really know the answer to that. It's very hard to control our thoughts and thinking. Try not to think of a pink elephant right now. Anybody here successful? It's really hard to control what you think because you're not thinking of a pink elephant? Yeah. It's really hard to control what we think because we can't control what other people do. We can't control our environment. We can't control what happens in the world. Things happen that make us think things that necessarily we might not want to think, right? So we can't control our thoughts necessarily. Do our thoughts impact us physically? Think about this for a second. If you're watching TV, do you laugh when something's funny? You cry when something's sad? You scream when something's scary? But you know what you're watching isn't actually happening in front of you. It's just a two-dimensional screen of light projecting images at your face, but you're still reacting emotionally as though it were happening. Why is that? Because our subconscious minds and our brains at large have a very difficult time telling the difference between what is real and what isn't. There's a great study, actually numerous studies published by David Brooks in the New York Times, if anybody wants to look this up to verify what I'm saying here. Folks were asked to look at a chair and think of a chair. Their brains were scanned both times, and similar parts of their brains were active when thinking of a chair and actually looking at a real one, which confirms what we already knew, which is that if we see something on a TV screen outside of ourselves, or we see something on a TV screen in our minds, it impacts us physically, or at least it has the ability to. And this is why anxiety, anxious feelings, traumatic sensations, or sensations brought on by trauma, are physical. It's also why every single person's anxiety is different. And you can't pinpoint, oh, you have anxiety, so that means you must get headaches. You must get nausea. You must get frozen when you talk to people. Everybody has a different reaction to anxiety. That's because everybody thinks differently, and everyone's thoughts impact them differently. So if we can't control our thoughts, and our thoughts impact us physically, and we can't control anything around us that impacts what we think, then it kind of seems like we're just destined to feel like crap all the time, right? Pretty much, at least that's what I thought. And sometimes I still feel like that sometimes. But the reality is there are a plethora of tools out there available, mental health resources, to help build your fitness in combating that way of thinking. And actually remembering that you have a lot more power than you think. Hypnosis is one of those tools. Hypnosis is the ability to access the faculties of the subconscious mind, habits, memory, emotions, and imagination, and getting back into the driver's seat of those 4 main faculties of the subconscious, rather than being a victim to them and whatever they decide to do for you in your life. The reason why I care so much about this and why I'm talking to you about this is not just because I happen to be in town. I was going through a really big mental health crisis in my life. I, during the Me Too movement, was feeling a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. I was acting out and getting angry with people without feeling like I had any control over my emotions. I was doing destructive habits. I was an addict. And I don't mean the traditional drug addict. I mean a phone addict. I was probably on my phone all day, trying to find ways to distract myself. Sometimes it worked. Most of the time it didn't. I still felt like crap, until finally I decided, okay, I'm going to get busy working because I'm not willing to actually confront and sit with the trauma that I was dealing with. So I decided to become an apprentice to a hypnotist. I did this, to be totally honest with you, because I thought it was going to make me more money. And I wanted to distract myself from what was going on in my life. What I didn't know was that this man would change my life and teach me things about my mind that I never knew before. Some of it was what I just described to you, about the mechanisms of the subconscious and that our thoughts impact us physically. But when I started to unpack, what are the thoughts that I'm thinking and how are they impacting me physically? What in my environment is making me feel this anxiety? And I finally was able to unpack, oh yeah, it's the Me Too movement. Why is that upsetting me? And then I was able to go back to a memory of when I was younger and sexually assaulted. Going to the police and them eventually dropping the case. And feeling like, even though I put myself out there and did the right thing, went to the authorities, told people numerous times, please avoid this man that was a very dear mentor of mine. And people didn't listen to me, people didn't believe me. So finally what I decided to do was, well, while it wasn't my fault what happened to me, it was my responsibility to make myself feel better. And everybody does that in their own way, and for me that was, I need to stop feeling so guilty and feeling so ashamed of what happened. And the best way that I can do that is by producing a Me Too statement so that it's out there, it's public, I don't have to worry about it anymore, and if somebody wants to deal with this guy, they can, so be it, but it's on them. Because when it happened to me, and I looked this man up, and I was like, hey, he gives me kind of creepy feelings inside of me, nothing was online. Nothing was there. So I produced a Me Too statement. The Boston Globe picked it up. There were other boys that came forward talking about this man doing similar things to them that he did to me. Ended up this man had been convicted of assaulting a child, a 12-year-old child, and never served a day in jail. He assaulted dozens of young men and children, including his own foster children, across the country over 50 years. And eventually, I had to go in and out of the courtroom and talk about what happened to me over the course of 9 years. This is before the Me Too movement and afterwards too. And the reason why a lot of these folks get away with this stuff is because people don't want to go into court and talk about it. Big reason why they don't want to go into court and talk about it is because, think about what I just said before, our thoughts impact us physically, and our brains have a difficult time telling the difference between what's real and what isn't. So for me, I was thinking about, when I was talking about what happened to me, I had to literally see it. I had to remember what happened to me and describe it in front of a room of strangers and in front of the man that did it to me. Seeing those images affected me physically as though it were happening again and again and again and again and again. And for a long time, I thought I was crazy. But because of the work I did as a hypnotist, I finally started to learn and unpack that my mind was working the exact way it was supposed to be. And so are yours. You're having an anxious episode, or experiencing symptoms of PTSD or depression, your mind is working the right way. Your thoughts are impacting you physically just as they should be. But if it's true that a negative or bad memory mingled with imagination gives us anxiety, we can reverse engineer that. Good memory with imagination can give us relief. And that is what hypnosis is. Hypnosis is the art of sculpting your imagination. It's not mind control, it's not voodoo, it's not magic. Feels like magic, for sure, but it's not. It's the ability to sculpt your imagination so that your imagination doesn't sculpt your life and your body in a way that you don't want. So when I was in the courtroom, for example, I literally thought about all the people that loved me and supported me behind me, even though they weren't there. I thought about them giving me energy and light. I thought about myself feeling strength emanating from within myself. And I was able to actually deliver my statement without being a blubbering mess. I still cried a lot, but I got through it okay. This is a practice. This is not something that can just happen overnight. Sculpting your imagination takes time, and you can do it without sitting cross-legged and with your eyes closed. You can do it every single moment of the day. You already do it every single moment of the day, by the way. By saying things about yourself. I am somebody who likes this. I am somebody who's seen as this. People think this about me. I think this about myself. You don't necessarily have to believe what you're thinking for it to affect you physically. Right? You don't believe what you watch on TV and it still affects you emotionally. So instead of going with the habitual pattern of saying whatever it is that you've been saying to yourselves for the first chapter of your lives, change it up. I started saying things like, every day in every way I'm getting better and better. I didn't believe it when I said it, but I just kept saying it over and over again. And finally, it became part of my inner monologue. And I started to understand that I can become the playwright of my own life. I'm not going to let other things and other people dictate that for me. I'm telling you this because bad things happen to all of us. Everyone here has something going on. When I finally started sharing this story with people before my show, because before, by the way, I was just doing a normal sticky comedy hypnosis show. And finally I was in rural Indiana, not too far away from here. And I was about to fly to Boston to testify in court. And I just broke down. I was like, guys, I'm really not in a good place right now, and I got to tell you why I care so much about this, because I'm literally going to self-hypnotize myself tomorrow. And I don't want to do this just for laughs. I want to show you how powerful this is. The show was totally different. I approached everything from a therapeutic angle, which is what I'm going to do tonight as well, if you join me. And people left with emotional reactions. A line formed out the door. And people started telling me one by one, not only what their experiences were during the show, but also what they were going through. People talking about being kidnapped, or family members kidnapped. Divorce, anxiety, suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, murder. Everyone's got something going on. Remembering that, too, is helpful because then it doesn't isolate you and your thinking. That's why the Me Too movement was so powerful. Because all of a sudden everyone started realizing, oh yeah, this is pretty normal and common. Not to say it's a good thing that it's normal and common, it's a good thing that we can find a connection with other people and not feel so alone and isolated. Vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And the moment you can start to become the playwright of your own life and start to narrate to yourself that your weaknesses, or your so-called weaknesses that other people have pointed out to you over your life, can actually be a source of strength. You can start to actually build a life that you want for yourself rather than what other people have decided for you. Does that make sense to everybody? There's a guy named Alan Moore. I'm going to leave you with this. He is an author of V for Vendetta, Watchmen. Anybody here familiar with those graphic novels? Yeah, they're great. I highly recommend them if you're interested. He says that magic in its earliest form is often referred to as the art. He takes that to be literal. He says that art is magic, art being the manipulation of symbols, words, the body, writing, music, dance, theater, visual art, is literally magic. Even the language around magic has to do with the supernatural. A grimoire, for examples, is a book of spells. Just a fancy way of saying grammar. Indeed, to cast a spell is simply to spell. Spell out somebody's consciousness, cast a spell on somebody's consciousness, and to change how they're thinking with what you're saying, with what you create, with what you do. All of the content you consume, all the conversations you have with every single person have the ability to sculpt your imagination and to change your consciousness. And you also have that power, not only over yourselves, but about and towards other people. We're all wizards in that way. And if we start thinking about magic in terms of changing other people's consciousness, changing other people's minds, and changing our own, using nothing except our imaginations, then really amazing, powerful things start to happen. Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Why would he say something like that? He's a really smart guy, a lot smarter than me. It's because it's true. You can know everything in the world and still have all the anxiety that's known to man. Start practicing sculpting your imagination. And I promise you, you will start to reap the benefits sooner than you think. I hope to see you tonight, and thank you so much for having me back again, everybody. Thank you again.
How do I make the next, go to the event size? The event size. Oh, can you get to it? Can you get to it? All right, there we go. Hello, mic check, mic check. All right, so I want to, once again, a round of applause for all of our speakers, all of our student speakers. All right. We have some great events tonight. We have our therapy dog event, so please sign up. They're all on all the TVs. If you want to do the QR code, we have events. We have a mental health first aid tomorrow. We have Spark events. We have Build an Emotional Stuffed Animal on Thursday. Our bonfire that was mentioned with Spark, as well as many other events, okay? This week, give me 2 minutes. I know we're ready to go to eat. Give me 2 minutes, all right? So the motto or the trend of this week is rise up, okay? So I want us to think about that. When we're stressed, what are we going to do? We're going to rise up. So I want y'all to say that to me. So when we're stressed this week, what are we going to do? When we're overwhelmed with all the problem sets and the academics and the scholarships and applying for college, what are we going to do? All right. When anything happens, you have your friends, you have your family. If they're stressing you out, what you going to do? You're going to? All right. So now let's rise up to the cafeteria. Thank you guys for being a great audience today.